Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok have all taken action to restrict content from believers in a bogus online conspiracy theory called QAnon. Now, Facebook says it removed hundreds, close to 1,000 of groups tied to QAnon. President Trump now says he's glad to have support from voters who support those ideas. Some of its believers are starting to move into mainstream Republican politics. The phony theory claims the president is fighting a secret group of pedophiles and sex traffickers inside the government. Nancy Cordes is on Capitol Hill with more on this story. Nancy, this is all so bizarre. What does law enforcement say about QAnon?
Well, Gail, the FBI has actually warned that conspiracy theories like QAnon could fuel a rise in domestic terrorism. And yet, some believers may soon be serving in Congress. And President Trump had nothing but praise yesterday for people who adhere to these disturbing claims.
I've heard these are people that love our country.
President Trump was asked point blank Wednesday, does he believe in QAnon, the so-called prophecy that claims he is secretly hunting down thousands of satanic deep state pedophiles and cannibals?
Is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it.
Wow, if I'm able to help save the world from problems, I'm gonna do it. So he believes that he's now fighting the deep state and fighting these satanic pedophiles and cannibals. Yet, Trump is known to be friends with, or was friends with Epstein and Maxwell, Epstein's girlfriend, and is known to have gone to Epstein's island. So he's not fighting pedophiles, he's for them. Especially if you look at his behavior and the things he said about his daughter when his daughter was still a kid.
It's not the first time President Trump has lent credence to a fringe theory. This one first emerged on the website 4chan in late 2017.
The idea was that this anonymous poster, who people refer to as Q, was giving secret clues about the coming, quote, Great Awakening.
Political science professor Joe Usinski studies conspiracy theories.
Because the beliefs themselves are almost an incitement to violence. I mean, there isn't anything worse you can say about your political competitors than that they are satanic sex traffickers who molest and eat children.
This sounds like something out of a bad sci-fi movie.
It has a lot of properties that make it more like a cult.
QAnon believers are a frequent sight at Trump rallies. Some are now seeking office themselves.
I stand with President Trump. I stand with Q and the team. Thank you, Anons.
Joe Ray Perkins, a Senate hopeful in Oregon, is one of at least 19 GOP congressional candidates who've paid lip service to QAnon.
George Soros and the Democrats are trying to take me down.
There's also Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who claims there's been an Islamic invasion of government offices. And yet, several Republican leaders congratulated her on her primary win last week, while the president called her a future Republican star.
She had a tremendous victory, so absolutely I did congratulate her.
What is QAnon?
That bothered Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, who posted this rebuttal online.
There's a massive amount of false predictions.
The Illinois lawmaker told us he's worried QAnon could corrode democracy.
It has to be called out. I think for the president to say, no, I don't believe these theories, they're ludicrous.
But calling out those theories made Kinzinger a target.
I have the people on Twitter now telling me I created ISIS with John McCain.
Do you think that's why more Republicans don't speak out, because they're worried about the attacks they will get online?
You know, I can't speak for everyone, but I certainly think there are some that are concerned about that.
Facebook announced new restrictions Wednesday to block and remove QAnon ads, fundraising, and searches. The site has already removed nearly 800 groups and 100 pages tied to the conspiracy theory.
I don't know really anything about it other than they do supposedly like me,
Despite warnings from federal law enforcement, one media watchdog estimates President Trump has amplified the tweets of QAnon believers more than 200 times. Uzinski says there's a reason for that.
And they brought him to the prom, and he needs to continue dancing with them. So that's exactly what he's going to continue doing.
And he told me that these predictions, as nutty as they sound, aren't even that new. Some of the theories resemble the plot of Oliver Stone's movie JFK 30 years ago. And yet, the professor's polling finds that about 5 to 10% of Americans actually believe this stuff, that President Trump is this secret crusader working to take down a cannibalistic cabal within government. Anthony?
This is another thing that I find hilarious about the idea that Trump is fighting child sex traffickers and stuff is, well, let's look at the southern border where there's kids being locked up in 2 cages. There's a lot of kids that are dying. There's a lot of kids that are being abused. And then there's a lot of kids that are going missing. Yet, QAnon people who like to use the hashtag Save the Children say nothing about what's going on there, nor does Trump say anything about that as well. He's actually in favor of it all. So, the idea that Trump is fighting against it all is a lie.